still go, 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 go.
Knudsen,
What's up, Tursky?
this is Two Guys Talking Golf.
It's a team event talking golf, that's for sure.
USA just clinched the win.
That's true.
We're doing this on a Sunday. We normally do this Thursdays and a Friday release, but we decided to go with a President's Cup recap piece and go after the event's over. We did get it handled officially 17.5 to 12.5.
Yeah.
Immediate thoughts.
The President's Cup is very cool. I like the whole team event thing. I like the whole USA versus the world type thing. I'm a big fan into that. It does not pull the same on my heartstrings as the Ryder Cup does. I'll be honest there. But I do have to say it was a very interesting event because I think after day one, we were up, 4-1, and it was like, great, this is going to be over. Tomorrow it's going to be over day two, and there's going to be no point of watching. And the international team came back, won a bunch of points, and what is it? I think on day three they won all but one match. I mean, they brought it to be. Then they made it a much closer event and a much more interesting event than I think a lot of people thought it would be, and especially I thought it would be after day one.
Yeah, if you just check the leaderboard, 17.5, 12.5 looks bad.
Yeah.
It looks like we just completely handled it, and it did feel like we had it handled after day one. Internationals definitely made it a competition, though.
For sure.
There was a point today, I was watching a little bit of the match play, the singles, and it looked like Internationals really had a shot. You started doing the math, and it was like, U.S. doesn't have this clinched.
Yeah.
This could go the other way. But our young guys on our team, they just step up, in big moments, hitting big putts, hitting the shots that they need to down the stretch, and they got it handled.
Yeah, it was. It was interesting. It was there were a couple things. In terms of players, some stuff that I definitely kind of went different than I thought. Especially some of the matches when you looked at them on paper, it was just some of them you're like, yeah, that's a win, and then you start looking through and you're like, oh, Scotty Scheffler lost in singles. I thought that was kind of a pencil it in, it's already done. But there were a couple of those that were really interesting, especially the last day. And it just goes to show you, too, that, as much as you look on paper and you say, oh, this international team doesn't stand a chance, you play some decent golf, somebody, whatever. Everybody has their day. And, this thing, like you said, the score looks worse than it really was. But, this it easily could have been even closer than it was or even gone the other way.
Yeah, you got to give your hats off to the internationals just fighting. They never gave up. People write them out, obviously. They've lost every President's Cup for the last 12 years. I think they tied 1 year, but it's been quite the losing streak. And going down 4-1 after day one just has to be really disheartening. But they never gave up, and it's a team full of great players.
Yeah.
They obviously lost a lot to Live Golf. On paper, the world rankings show how big of a discrepancy it is between the U.S. and the internationals. But, if you're top 125, top 100 in the world, you're an amazing golfer with a lot of experience. All these guys have played match play. And kind of teaming up together, you get that team camaraderie. You learn things throughout the week. You learn about the course. So it's not as one-sided, when you really put it together in practice.
Yeah.
But I have some all-stars from the week. I just went through the leaderboard and looked at the matches. It's always interesting to see who really showed up for each squad.
Yeah.
So I'll just go through that real quick, and then we can get into some further thoughts on the President's Cup. Because I have an interesting topic I want to get to. But first, the all-stars.
All right.
Jordan Spieth, 5-0. What else do you have to say about that? That dude's built for match play.
Well, the funny thing,
funny
thing is there was a thing I was watching on TV, and they showed actually his like most recent President's Cup and Ryder Cup, like it was his singles play, and his like individual play. He was like 0-3, 0-3, like 0-3-1 and 0-3 or something like that. Like he was terrible in singles play, but he pulled out the win this week, big time when he won like 4-3. So Yeah, I mean, like we said, what was it, like last podcast or 2 podcasts ago? Like, a kind of the bold prediction for myself was Jordan Spieth winning a major next year, and the boy played some good golf this weekend.
You're looking good on that one. The dude that really got the people going and, like, Twitter fired up and the crowd's fired up, Max Homa. He went 4-0. And that winning putt he hit, what was that now? That was Friday? Maybe it was Saturday.
He walked it in, or I kind of celebrated. Oh,
let's effing go! You gotta love that energy. And then he said, what was his quote after he hit that? He was like, "This is why money doesn't really matter." Like, I got like more fired up in that moment than money could ever give me.
Yep.
And so true. So true. That's just pure emotion right there. Putting the whole country on his back. And then people got the clips together, like where he starts celebrating way before he actually did. Like those photoshops are so funny. People are doing that to Tiger for years. And now they're doing it with Max. It's great. I love that. I don't know who actually originates it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, because the first one, because I unfortunately didn't catch that putt live, but when I saw it on like Twitter, I was like, dude, did he really sell it? Like, I was kind of like, oh, my God. And then I saw the real clip, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it's all edited. All right, I got it. I was like, holy crap. But, yeah, he's right, though. I mean, like, there's the reason these guys play, the reason they get started to playing golf the way they do is to win. It has nothing to do with money. It's like, it's literally just collecting trophies and showing off that, like, yo, I beat these guys. Like, I beat this guy. I beat this field. I beat whoever. And to them, yeah, the money is amazing, and it definitely adds some motivation later on to, like, make some money and all that. But realistically, at the dead heart of it all, when they're 10 years old out there playing junior tournaments, they're just trying to beat everybody else. And it still rings through, man. Like, and I think that's with every sport. Like, I think if you would have taken, like, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant and said, hey, we're going to pay you $50,000 to play NBA basketball, they'd still be playing NBA basketball. Mm-hmm. Like, it didn't matter. They wanted to be the best in the world at that sport, and the money portion of it was a very small portion. So
yeah, just to that point, like, I mean, these guys are going to go out to their local clubs and play in a little money game regardless, and it's not about how much money. It's about playing the 2-man best ball with your buddies and getting after it, getting the competition going.
Yeah,
let's see who scores lower today. And I'm going to talk a lot of smack during the process.
That's right. That's right.
Continuing on, JT went 4-1. Actually lost a singles match.
Yeah.
You don't expect that from JT just because, like Spieth, I mean, he's really competitive. He's also in the prime of his game right now, I would say. Like, who has more confidence than JT right now? But he went 4-1. Still very solid week. Finau 3-1. Xander 3-1. Cantlay 3-1. Colin 2-1. So that's a lot of good playing from the United States team right there. Then 100%. For the internationals, we got Siwu Kim. He went 3-1. Sebastian Munoz 2-0, and then KH Lee went 2-1. Aside from that, not a lot of top individual performances, which you expect. I mean, they ultimately lost by 5 points. I know they made it really interesting, and a lot of guys were showing what they were made of, really. Like Sebastian Munoz, he was saying, this was one of, like, the best moments of my life. Like, at least in golf, like, in his golf career. Maybe he didn't say life. Maybe he said career. I'll give him a break on that one. I don't want to upset his family or anything like that. But, you know, these are big moments for these guys. These are big stages, especially on the international side. Like, these are guys who don't get a lot of TV coverage, and now they're all of a sudden in the spotlight doing more media than they've ever done. You know, after each round, they're getting peppered with questions, whereas normally it's like they kind of just sneak under the radar. So there's a lot of pressure for those guys, and they showed up.
For sure. And also,
hats off to them.
And these are a lot of players these are players who will, unfortunately, they can't play in a Ryder Cup. Like, you know, like I know the Ryder Cup in the U.S. is absolutely monstrous and all that, but that's not part of it. So to these players like a Sebastian Munoz, this is his Ryder Cup. You know, this is the President's Cup. Is that it's the premier team event for international players, and while it may not look as huge in the U.S. to the U.S. audience, I bet the international audience, this is a big event. You know, I mean, they get to watch their players go out and play this team event, and it's a totally different atmosphere and all that. So, yeah, I bet he's right. I bet this is a pretty huge, huge accomplishment and a huge thing to be invited to play in this as an international player.
Absolutely. Okay. Now I want to get into my couple topics here.
All right.
Because I think there's been a couple, like, decent ideas floating around. This is assuming that you think, like, the President's Cup is kind of broken, which I'm not sure exactly where you stand. I would say, obviously, the internationals haven't won in a hot minute. And like you said, it just doesn't have the same, like, pop as the Ryder Cup.
No.
I don't think it's appointment television viewing for, like, the general sports audience. I think they get into it, maybe watch it, like, a couple of the days, but they're kind of tuning in and out, and they lose interest more so than the Ryder Cup. And I'm not trying to throw shots at the President's Cup. I was there. I know how electric, like, the fans are and in person, and the players, like, they get all fired up. It's just the impact, like, the overall impact of the President's Cup, I would say, is just a little bit less than the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, maybe it's the one-sidedness of the results having an effect. So I've seen some new format ideas floating around. One I kind of like, but I want to get your take on it.
All right.
Instead of teams of 12, all male golfers, you split it into 6 and 6, ladies and men's. And keep the same, like, rules to who can, like, get in the event. Like, Europe still wouldn't be involved. It would still be USA versus international. But then you throw in 6 American ladies and 6 international ladies, and you throw them on the teams. And I guess for the team format, it would be like one guy, one girl.
Yeah.
And you would stick to that. I don't know exactly how they would do singles. I guess it would be 6 men versus 6 men, 6 women versus 6 women. I guess you'd have to figure out some of that formatting. But aside from, like, contracts and rules and stuff like that, I don't see why this wouldn't be awesome. Like, talk about growing the game. You know, think about Twitter and Instagram and just the lead up and shining the spotlight on the women on such a huge stage. Like, it literally would still be the President's Cup, and I don't see any reason why it would have, like, less pop. I think it would have even more. But what do you think about that?
I actually think it would be pretty cool because I think, honestly, then you could also change up a little bit of the format of the, the format. Like, you wouldn't, instead of playing, a second 4-ball, why not then play, you have an LPGA player, PGA player, and you do alternate shot. And let's see alternate shot, the dynamic that would be different between those two players would be really interesting. It'd be really cool to see them, kind of just navigate a different set of shots, because, the women are definitely hitting it way farther than than people think. But just to navigate how they would play some of those holes and things like that would be really interesting. And I think the dynamic of, a PGA and LPGA player playing together would be just really interesting, like how they would feed off each other and, the competition between them would be, pretty awesome. And I think it would, like you said, it would bring in a whole new audience or a whole chunk of audience that probably doesn't watch the President's Cup that may start watching it because, they're fans of women's golf and they want to watch these players play. And I think it would be actually a really cool thing. I've thought that adding LPGA or women's golf to, like, some of these match play events, that they've done with celebrities and players, I thought that would be huge to bring in, a different audience too. So I'm all for it.
I think it also opens the door for more, like, strategy.
Yeah.
And it places more importance on, like, the captain and coaching decisions and stuff like that. Like, who do you pair together? What hole do you have the lady tee off first, the male tee off first? Because they would probably be playing slightly different tees at least.
Yep.
I don't think dragging the ladies back to 7,500 would make for, like, great TV. I think you just put them where they properly would play like for a major. Like if they were playing a major at Quail Hollow, how would you set up the ladies course, and then how would you set up the men's course, and then have them play their respective tee boxes? But that brings up a whole bunch of strategy.
Yeah, 100%.
Which makes it even more intriguing to me. And so if you're in the camp of the President's Cup needs to be fixed, I think that's like a definite possibility.
Yeah.
And the other one that I've seen floating around is do PGA Tour versus Live Tour.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if – I think you would have to change that to something different than just like the President's Cup. But like, what would you think about a PGA Tour versus Live Tour like team event?
Yeah.
Like I was in the press conferences, all the players were getting asked about if they would be interested in something like that or whether they considered it. Most of the guys are like, that's purely hypothetical. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some guys were just like, no. But, you know, if there's money involved and there's branding and there's marketing and like it actually picks up into a team event, is that something you would consider watching?
I mean, I would definitely watch it. I think that it would take a lot to get to the point where those two would play each other, just because there's a lot of tension between not only the two tours but also some players, which would actually add some dramatics to it that would be very interesting, you know, with people who have been very outspoken about, you know, their feelings on both tours and things like that. So you could definitely...
Legitimate beefs.
Yeah, you could definitely
like
see some...
actual real-world problems with each other.
Yeah, you could definitely see some interesting stuff. So would I watch it? For sure. I mean, there's big names on both sides. Of course I'd watch it. I think it could get very, very interesting. I think the logistics of getting it done are a long way off. But I think a lot of people would watch it. There's just too many big names to not watch that. You know, that I think that... You know, if you're not going to watch it, it would be strictly because you're taking a side of one or the other. I think if you're just a fan of golf and a lot of the golfers out there, I think you'd be interested in watching it.
It's something definitely I would want to see, but for the PGA Tour, like to sign on and actually sign that contract and do it and be on board, I don't know. It's probably pure risk for them. Like, imagine the PGA Tour team just getting absolutely smoked and wiped out. Like, that's probably not a good look for the PGA Tour. Am I saying, like, that's what I think the result would be? No, I would have to think about that, break it down on paper. I think the PGA Tour is probably still more stacked up, like, world rankings-wise and just talent-wise in general. I mean, we saw what happened at the President's Cup, how good these young guys are at playing match play and playing in team events. But, like, in terms of entertainment value... I feel like that's kind of what the golf world is looking for right now. Like, they want to see PGA Tour versus Live at this point. And we had talked about that on this show, is that I think one of the majors should, like, play into that.
Yeah.
Are we going to get that? Probably not.
No.
Just because of... It's probably for good reason that they don't do that in terms of, you know, their PR and brand deals and, you know, that whole back end of it. But... like you said, just pure golfers being golfers and, you know, entertained by kind of what's been going on. I think PGA Tour versus Live, the team event, you know, and then you get all the uniform choices and custom gear and stuff like that involved. I don't know. That would be a wild scene.
Oh, for sure.
Where would they play something like that? What course would even host something like that?
Oh, I mean, anybody would want it because it's huge. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, the PGA Tour is not going to do it because the PGA Tour looks at it, and actually the Live would probably do it in a heartbeat because they'd have no TV deal, and they would love the extra exposure. And from some of the articles... It'd be like a
free-for-all for Live. I mean, that's like playing with house money. That's just bringing more exposure. And if they win one match, it's like, look, we're better. You know, they could just play into whatever happens, they could twist it into a positive. And it's pure risk.
PGA Tour's looking at it. PGA Tour's looking at it going, this is a free ride for them. Why would we sign on to do this? I mean, so like I said, there's a lot for that to ever happen, if it ever will. But, you know, you break it down and you look at, you know, world ranking and the players on each tour. I mean, the top couple are going to be flat out loaded. But I think the PGA Tour's probably got a little more depth as you go down the list, depending on how many players you have. But yeah, it's definitely something, like I said, I've seen the whole social media world talk about. You know, I've had some golf buddies, you know, mention it and all that. I think people want to see it. It's just I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Time will tell. Money is always going to talk. If they get billion-dollar deals to do it, they're going to do it.
That's true. It could happen.
I'll be checking for
there's
it.
always a way.
So I was in Charlotte at Quail Hollow for the President's Cup, ahead of the President's Cup, and then I actually went over to the course on Thursday as well.
Nice.
There was custom gear just flying everywhere. As of 2022, like all the brands that are getting involved and all the players like getting into it as well, it's just everything's custom now. Like all the bags, hats, umbrella covers, shoes, socks, like everything is so festive, patriotic. What did you think about all the custom gear? Like what were some of your highlights if you went through? If you haven't seen anything, that's okay. I was there. I can kind of give my take on it, but just curious to see if you saw what was going on and what you liked.
I mean, the first one that pops out, that was just awesome. And yes, the custom stuff for every major's gotten bigger. For almost every event, there's some type of custom stuff, like whether it's head covers, whatever, that's at every event. So a big thing like this, you kind of expect it. And yeah, you get the international like bags, the USA bags, and all that stuff. And to me, that stuff's super cool. And I think that it's pretty awesome that there's more and more of it. I think it's kind of cool the players get into it, because I know as golf fans, we're into it. We think it's pretty awesome. We would love to get our hands on some of that stuff. The number one thing, and I think it's no surprise if anybody saw it, the international team's gift from their captain is by far number one. They each were gifted a Rolex Air King, and on the back of it, on the very back, it had etched in the international team's logo on it. So every player got one. So I mean, just that kind of thing as a custom piece is just absolutely
How
sick.
fired up were you as a watch guy, especially?
So into it. It was awesome. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's so cool. So that was, I mean, of course, my number one. But I think the stuff like Scotty Scheffler's, custom TW shoes, the 2020 TWs that he wears.
That was my number one.
Oh man, those
Don't
were
steal my
sweet.
number one.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think the bags are very cool. I mean, they're all done totally custom up. I mean, everything about it is actually pretty cool. But yeah, the Rolex from the international team was pretty badass.
The players getting into it, well, for some of them, I guess it's a little bit shocking. I'm sure, like the older guys, when they were coming up in the game, they maybe would have rolled their eyes at, all the custom stuff going on. The new players, obviously, they like wearing cool stuff, so it doesn't shock me that they get into it. But it's it's like the assistant captains and the captains and all the people around the team that were getting into it as well that I got a kick of. Like Zach Johnson wearing some custom red Nikes with red, white, and blue, like mid socks coming up to his calves. Like, I don't know. That gets me fired up. And when you see that, it does make the event feel like more important that they're willing to get that in.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Masters, I mean, every brand has custom stuff, but some of the guys still just like wear their neutral colors and normal head covers and stuff like that. With this, every bag has 4 USA head covers on it that are custom made for the team. And I thought one of the head covers they had were pretty cool. It actually had the state of North Carolina on the back, and then a little Tar Heel in there as well, like the UNC Tar Heel. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm not a UNC fan, but I thought the head covers were cool. Scheffler's shoes by far were
sweet,
the coolest things ever. I mean, you got the Tiger Woods logo, you got USA colors all over them. They look like really comfortable shoes. There were some other custom shoes, and I think it was the shoes that, like, you're a watch guy. I'm a shoe guy. So the shoes get me most fired up, and there were a couple different standouts. You had Finau wearing, like, the high-top Jordan 1s.
Yeah.
Red, white, and navy blue with the USA on the side. I thought that was pretty cool. You had Sam Burns with the Curator shoes. I don't remember the exact model on the Curators. I'm sorry, but they had this paint splatter,
Equator.
the red and blue paint splatter. Those were sick. And then on the side it had official sponsor of Sam Burns, unofficial sponsor of USA. I thought that was kind of witty.
That's pretty sweet.
Funny for them. And then you had one more. Oh, Colin Morikawa was wearing some custom USA Adidas golf shoes. And then a bunch of the FootJoy guys, like even if they were rocking all white, they would have the red and blue spikes underneath.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was a nice touch. Nice touch on the shoes. I think Vessel did a great job on both of the bags, like the international bags. That black and yellow just popping.
Which is cool.
Like really clean, stealthy. And then the USA just, what can you say? That's an American bag right there.
It's right, man. It was a cool bag. I like the American bag. The way they did the USA with little like lines through the middle of it and all that. I thought it was pretty cool. It was, they could have made it pretty bland and just made it like a white bag, a little red. But no, they added some kind of cool touches to it. And like you said, that international bag, it almost looked like it kind of had that villain look to it, like all black, a little bit yellow, but like it was like the villain type part, which was, but it looked cool, man. It was a cool looking bag.
I was looking at the international team gear, and I was like, "Uh-oh, they're ready. They're ready to go. They look strong." Ultimately, not the case.
Well,
they were dressed to impress for sure. But yeah, they did a great job on both bags. I think you can actually buy. I don't know if you could buy the international bag, but you can buy the USA bags.
Yeah,
they have staff bags and stand bags on Vessel. That was not an ad. I just think it's pretty cool that they sell it. I think a lot of people always want like the custom major bag or the custom stuff that they put out for Ryder Cup, President's Cup. Not always the case, unfortunately. Usually you can find it on like eBay or Instagram, but being able to go right to the site, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of scrolling through my pictures right here, make sure I didn't miss anything like wild. Max Homa, he had like some custom wedges. He does like the USA a lot, so I don't know if it was actually even custom for specifically this week, but he had USA like on the lob wedge with an American flag back there. I don't think I've ever seen him with that. He usually goes red, white, and blue like with his own name.
Yeah.
MAX,
Max.
red, white, blue.
Yep.
Yeah, so assuming that's an Arendelle special right there. And then JT had...
Oh, yeah.
He like used his name and dots as the stars, like the blue and white part of the flag, and then just radar
Yeah.
in red and white to fill out the stripes portion of the flag. I thought that was a pretty cool design. Aaron Dill, he was savage for that one. He always just one-ups himself. Oh, and then the custom carts as well.
Yeah.
I thought each team's carts were really cool. Their club car, custom made, like USA has an all red cart with white cushioning and the President's Cup logo right in the back. Sick. And then the Internationals had all black with just like the pops of yellow on the golf cart.
Yeah.
I have a picture of, I think this might have been Greg's picture actually. Greg Moore, shout out Greg Moore. Just has KJ Choi chilling in one of these carts. Good photo.
I know, yeah.
Pretty funny.
The carts are always like, I mean, they're super nice. They have like the nice quilted seats on them with like the logos on each one. I think it's like the USA one had like the white kind of like fake leather like stitched in with the President's Cup logo and all that. I mean, they're super nice looking. And I think like sometimes they like auction some of those things off when they're done with them, which would be pretty cool to be rolling around in like a President's Cup cart, at your local club, just rolling around in that thing. It'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, you got a house set up like close to your club course, probably in Florida, and you always just ride the cart to the first tee, pulling up in the Team USA President's Cup golf cart.
It'd be awesome.
Pretty sick. The Internationals also had another team gift in addition to the Rolex, and this was through the help of Lab Golf. I know you have some experience with the Mez 1.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen these putters, but they did black and gold Mez 1, international logo, like in the back cavity, and then the weights on the bottom, all gold.
Oh, gold.
With like gold imprints of their team logo dancing on the sole, and then it says Quail Hollow, Charlotte, North Carolina, President's Cup 2022 with the President's Cup like trophy logo on the bottom as well. Black and gold, sick putter.
Dude, that's pretty awesome.
Custom head cover, custom shaft. Yeah, so Lab worked with, I guess, one of the team captains. Maybe you just worked with Adam Scott on it because Scott already plays Lab golf putter. But yeah, they gifted each player, maybe the captains too, I'm not sure, but definitely each player, like their specs. They got it dialed in with the lie angle, the length, the head weight that they normally play, and they gifted them each one of those. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
That is pretty interesting. I mean, it's a good way also to get your putter in some hands of some pros, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that and the Lab stuff is sweet. Yeah, I actually literally just got in the Mez One Max, the bigger one, just showed up at the end of last week. So I went and played it on Thursday. But yeah, that's pretty.
You say you got it in. Is that like you got the package, you received the package and took it out, or are you saying you're putting it in the bag?
Well,
going forward,
it was in my bag on Thursday when I went and played, and I got like 14 holes in. So I don't know. I put it pretty well with it. So there's it's pretty nice. I don't know if it's necessarily the starter at the moment, but I putted pretty decent with it.
So I haven't played a full round with that putter. I've hit a few putts here and there. I like it.
Yeah.
But how would you describe it compared to like your normal? You normally play with like a fanged mallet. So head shape wise, it's fairly similar, but obviously feel wise, I'm sure it's different. Like, what are the differences you actually notice on the course?
The biggest thing, and I think the biggest thing, especially for I'll call them better players, like anybody who's been playing a lot, whatever. Like the better the player, typically the more we can manipulate the face. So like there's always toe hang on a blade or whatever, and your hands are used to like controlling that. And the biggest thing is when you get the putter, like that doesn't exist. Like there is no rotation of the head. Like it is, it stays basically pointed at the target throughout the whole stroke, and you have to like not fight it. You have to just almost like for me at least in my mind, grip it extremely like soft. And just just pull the putter back and just let it go. And it's weird though because you're like you can almost feel yourself trying to like rotate the putter, and you're like you don't have to do that. Like just let it go, and that's the biggest.
Does it make speed control tough?
For me, really long putts, like long lag putts, it's a little hard to get used to. Lab actually has some like drills on their YouTube site or their YouTube page that some like one-handed drills and some stuff like that to get used to it faster. I haven't necessarily done those, unfortunately, but I'm going to say anything short though is like automatic. If you read the line right, and it's going in. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, the long stuff it takes a little getting used to. But once you put in some time with it, like any putter, you'll get used to it pretty quickly.
Has anyone on tour ever gone to two putters? We've seen two drivers, but has anyone ever done two putters? Like you have one super stable, maybe it's a longer putter or something like that for 10 feet and in, and then for like the feel putts or the Texas wedge type putts or something where you just feel uncomfortable and you need that speed feel, have like a normal short blade putter, that you're super comfortable with.
Not that I can think
That's
of.
not the worst idea I've ever had. Obviously takes up such an unnecessary space in your bag. But
I haven't seen it.
I could see myself doing that. I used to putt either like claw or crosshand 15 feet and in, and then outside conventional. I'm also a psycho on the green, so definitely don't listen to me and don't do that. But you're right. I mean, it's a question. It's a concept.
In theory, like to me, it's like, why do people carry a chipper? I think it's the waste of a club. Like, what's the point?
Don't call out people with chippers.
I'm going to call out people with chippers.
It might be helpful.
I mean, it probably is, and there's a reason why they carry it. But I also look at it going, you're just taking up a whole spot. So if you're someone who struggles with putting and like that's your thing, the rest of your game is decent. I don't think carrying two putters is such a bad idea, especially like say it's a person like your case who, fairway woods are pretty much obsolete. You pretty much could go from driver to a driving iron and then down, and you could make a spot in your bag fairly easily, or you could put a second putter in there strictly for that, different putts. So I can't think off the top of my head of anybody who's done it, but I don't think it's that off the wall.
I don't think you should write off the chipper.
I'm writing off the chipper. I wrote it off already.
I'm going to be honest. I have a buddy, and he's not that bad.
Yeah.
I would say he's maybe like 10 to 12 handicap or something like that, but he hits 3-iron from everywhere. Like, if it's like 110 yards, he'll just roll up a 3-iron. I mean, he's basically like putting around the course. But I do think there's something to be said for like simplifying your stroke, kind of sticking to one club and learning that club. I'm not saying it should be the chipper, but I understand like the concept behind it, because it simplifies everything. It turns it into a putting stroke, and you're getting the ball on the ground like faster.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't really want to support the chipper.
Well, here's my argument to that.
I understand people, like, I can see there's people who have the chipper in the bag, and it's like, if you go chipper versus lob wedge, especially if it has low bounce on it, I'd much rather see them just basically putt with the chipper, and I think you're going to get up and down way more. And there's probably guys out there who are absolutely automatic with the club like that. And I support like using the stuff that works, as long as it's legal and within the rules and you have a spot in the bag for it.
Yeah.
I mean, go for it. Those are tools for you to use however you want. Like, you don't have to play a 14 club setup and stick to the basics.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. But my whole thing is like, okay, you can have a chipper. Or I had a friend who was
How did we get here?
I know.
Go ahead.
I had a friend who was a really good player, played some college golf, whatever, but he was struggling with his chipping. Like, that was like kind of his weak spot. So he basically, one summer, like before work, after work, whenever he could fit it in, he would go to the local course and he would practice chipping. And he basically just took like his 8-iron and just grooved in a stroke. And he knew when I chip with this 8-iron, it goes X far on the green. And then he's like, well, I had the stroke dialed in, so then if I needed to hit a little farther, I just pulled the 7-iron. If I needed to hit a little shorter, I pulled the 9-iron or the pitching wedge or whatever. And he's like, but it was the exact same stroke. It was everything. I just changed the loft of the club. And I'm like, if you're willing to put in the work with a chipper to get good with it, why not just do the same thing with his 8-iron? And then if you need to hit a little longer, hit a little shorter, you just change the club.
That is true.
I mean,
and I should probably be chipping more with like a pitching wedge or an 8-iron, something like that gets the ball lower. But my brain, I always try to be like fancy. Like, if I'm short-sighted, I'm throwing the face wide open, even if the lie is kind of sketchy. Trying to hit this like decel high floating shot that just lands dead. Like, I cost myself way more strokes trying to hit shots like that and being really cute and fancy and trying to spin it and different directions and stuff. If I just took the 9-iron out, regardless of where I was, and bounced it up, and then you get really good at bump and runs, and I don't know, I'd probably knock a lot of strokes off my game.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things we do on the golf course that are not efficient score-wise.
100%.
But it's like, you know, we want to try the shots, though. Like, that is some of the fun. But it's also really fun shooting your best score and winning the match. So, yeah, I get both sides of it. I should be better at the bump and runs, though.
I'm with you. Like, I've actually finally, like, I used to be that guy who, like, I would not pull anything more than a sand wedge out on any shot right around the green. Just never would. Like, sand or lob wedge every single shot. Didn't matter, you know.
Yep.
And now I've gotten so much more into using my pitching wedge to hit those little, you know, just short of the green or something. And just using my pitching wedge to hit those little chip shots and some of the pitch shots there and it's definitely helped. Like, it's definitely helped me get closer to the hole than it was with trying to hit like a really hard 56 to get it to, like, you know, get down and stop. And so, yeah, I need to even continue my journey down there, but I've definitely moved away from the same. Like, the lob wedge is short-sighted only. Or
tough one to say.
Yeah, or out of the bunker, you know, in certain situations. But that's all it's used for now. Like, I don't hit a lob wedge, you know, very often anymore.
I need to transition more into that style of play.
Yeah. Like,
when I switched to lefty, I was really good at it because hitting like a 60 flop wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
So it was nice not even having that option. It's just, all right, let's pull out. For me, it was like a gap wedge or a pitching wedge. Let's pull that out, hit a bump and run. But when I'm playing right-handed, and it's like, because it's shots that I feel like I used to be able to play proficiently at least. So now it's an option. Now it's like, oh, well, that's probably the best option.
Yep.
So I feel forced to do it, even though I don't practice at all. I don't have the same confidence that I used to. Like, my right hand's a little twitchier than ever.
Yeah.
You got to play around these things. And I think that's what course management is really all about. It's like just minimizing risk and trying to get the ball in an opportunity where you're not going to cost yourself a big number, but you could still get up and down. Like if you just decide in your brain, okay, every time I chip the ball, every time I miss the green, my goal is to get it within 12 feet.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. I'm not trying to hit it to within tap-in distance every time. I'm just going to take my medicine. I missed the green. Let's avoid double bogey at all costs. So let's get the ball onto the surface, maybe 14, 12 feet I'm happy with. We still have a run at the putt. You know, you're not like short-sided, chunk one, blade one. Now it's like, all right, sorry guys, and I'm just going to pick up the ball now.
Yep.
You know, like it can get away from you around the greens if you try to be too cute. Whereas if you just play conservative, every time you miss it, you're 12 feet. I don't know. You probably actually get up and down more percentage of the time that way.
For sure. For sure. Like you said, I mean, how many times does it take you 2 chip shots? You're still 10, 12 feet away. You still 2-putt it. And like you said, you make double with no problem, if not triple. And it's like you would have just knocked it onto the green, 2-putted and walked away. Like you walk off with bogey and fine. Like you're good. Just move along. But
okay, so none of that had anything to do with the President's Cup. We got really off the rails. I'm sorry to the listeners. I hope you got something out of that.
Yeah.
I think course management is very important, and something like I personally overlook. We all overlook. But anyway, getting back to some of the gear from the President's Cup, there weren't a lot of guys like testing and making changes. There were no equipment trucks there, but we just had a couple minor switches and just some things I wanted to mention. Colin Morikawa, he's proving to be quite the putter tinker.
Yeah.
He had a new custom putter, not as like one-off custom as the last one, but he threw in a TaylorMade Soto instead of the Juno with a short slant neck, and then he had a dot as the top line. And we talked to Colin. He talked to the press a bit about the putter switch. Like we spotted the putter and then we asked him about it. And basically like the biggest reason he switched was mostly due to like the length and the lie angle and like having his arms hang more comfortable at address. And while he was saying that, all I could think in my mind was that's exactly what JT just said about his putter switch.
Yeah.
Like all these guys, and maybe they're talking to each other. You know, because JT said he got that concept from Cantlay. Colin was like, yeah, I talked to some guys in Vegas. Like, they're all going more comfortable at address, which I think for a lot of them is shorter.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of letting the arms hang even a little bit more. For me, it was actually going longer because that allowed me to stand up tall and feel more comfortable. But they're all talking about comfort at address. So that's definitely something to keep in mind for whoever's listening. Like, if you haven't looked at your putter length in a minute, I guess just try, like, having your arms hang comfortably at address without even holding a putter, and then have someone, like, hand you the putter and see where your arms fall.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of tell, like, am I way off? Am I close? And then, you know, if you have a problem, go in, get a putter fitting, or maybe even get it cut. But I know for, you know, club builders like you, it's not always just as easy as just, oh, I'm going to slice an inch or slice 2 inches off the putter and everything's good. Like, you have to worry about weighting as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean,
probably not as
you're
much
right.
for putter, but
I mean, you do. I mean, because you are going to lose a lot of that head weight feel if you really shorten it up. I mean, it's definitely going to feel, you know, lighter. But on the flip side of that, I mean, you know, if your head's 350 grams, you know, and you get down to 33 inches, I mean, there's a lot of 33-inch putters built around 350-gram heads, so it all depends. I mean, but yeah, I mean, but in the simplest way, you can just lop off whatever you need and then slap a little lead tape on the sole and get some of that weight back and things like that. But, you know, yeah, with Colin's putter, it's so cool. He also went to an LA golf shaft. I don't know if that's brand new for him, but
yeah,
went to the LA golf shaft, the one that goes over the hosel, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, like I said, going shorter. I've always, like I said, I worked at a shop back in the early 2000s, and I remember people just walking in, not even basically trying a putter, and just like, yep, 35 inches, that's a men's putter, and they'd walk out, and it was like,
that's what it
you're
is.
as tall as me. Like I'm 5'9". Like I can't play a 35-inch putter. Like there's no way. So what are you doing? But
I was in that camp as well.
And, yeah.
I was in that camp too.
So who knows? It could just turn into one of those things where, like you said. And the other part with like the guys on tour, like you better have something comfortable for the amount of putts they hit, the amount of practice they do on those putting greens. If you're
sometimes
back
3-4 hours
like
on the practice green.
Yeah, if your
That's
back's
a lot
in
of
a weird
practice
position or you're not comfortable, you could be definitely causing some issues with your body without even knowing it.
Absolutely. I know for amateurs, probably putting in 3 hours sounds absolutely insane on the putting green, but they do that.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
Got to respect their work ethic.
I don't know if I could do 3 hours, but if I had some time, I'd put in more than I do, which is like none.
I go play mini golf. That's my putting practice. Then we got Siwu Kim. He was getting the crowd fired up out there. He was pretty electric.
Yeah.
He switched into a broomstick, like a long putter, split grip.
Yeah, I
not
saw
anchored,
that.
obviously, because that's not legal. But he had a long putter, very similar to the way Adam Scott sets it up. And talked to Joe Toulon over at Odyssey, who did work at least building the putter for Siwu, and he said 3 weeks ago Siwu reached out to him. He said Adam Scott told him it's a great putter to practice with, if nothing else. So Siwu wanted to get one to practice with based on what Adam Scott had said. So Toulon sent him a 2-ball 10 broomstick with the two-piece grip, 5.5-inch split, he said, which is really standard, and ended up putting it in play for the President's Cup. And me and Greg spotted him with it on, I guess that was either Monday or Tuesday. And being that Joe said it was like a practice putter, we weren't sure whether it was going to like go in or not. And then I show up on Thursday, he's putting with it, and he played with it all the way through Sunday. So we might see a new gamer for Siwu, and it just started as a practice putter. So I'm going to have to talk to him at some point and just figure out like how that all went down and what happened. I was not able to talk to him this event, but I promise next time I see him, I will be talking to him about this broomstick. So pretty interesting right there. Like all new putter, all new style for the President's Cup within 3 weeks. Like he asked for it 3 weeks ago, so I'm assuming he didn't get it until a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you'd think.
I've never personally tried that style, like the long putter, split grip, not anchored. I've never given that a chance, but no, works for Adam Scott, works for Siwu.
Yeah, I mean, he holds it a little different than Adam Scott. It seems like his is like almost in between stomach and chest. Like Adam's seems like it goes really high. Like he holds it kind of almost up near his like chest neck area and swings it. Siwu's is definitely lower. Like it's almost like a slightly longer belly putter that he just holds away from his belly. And then he grips it a little differently than most guys when they go to those long putters. They kind of almost have like a clawish grip to pull it back. And he almost looks like he has like a traditional right-hand grip, like he's holding a regular right-handed putter, but then he's got it anchored, so it's only one hand. It looks a little different with him doing it, but it's whatever gets it in the hole. And if you're struggling with the putter, sometimes going to something drastically different can get the ball in the hole, and that's all he's trying to do. But yeah, a little different setup than Adam Scott, but I totally understand that he's probably trying to work on that whole like pendulum motion, just let the putter kind of do the work. And but pretty interesting to do that right before the President's Cup, because I mean most guys wouldn't do that.
I think they should be banned.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I don't understand is like,
I think your driver should be your longest glove.
Well, I don't mind the whole.
I don't know how you make that rule, though. I don't know how you change that rule.
I don't know how like, yeah, I don't. Well, the only thing with his is like, I know he's not anchoring it. I get it, but it's like he's anchoring his arm against his chest and his hand is free. Like there is some sort of like bracing that goes on with that stroke, and like I said, Adam Scott's one of my favorite players on earth. I still don't understand how he gets away with it, with it's not anchoring, but it looks like his arm's anchored against his body and that kind of stuff. So I'm with you a little bit, but I also, if it was that much better than conventional putting, everybody would be putting this way, or a lot of people would be putting this way, and there's just not that many. Like if it was that much better and it really worked, and these guys were just, leading putting stats because this putter, okay, great. But what if we have one major winner with a long putter? A broomstick? We've had a couple bellies back in the day, whatever, but a broomstick putter, what? We've had Adam Scott Masters. Has anybody else won one with a long putter in recent history? So, in terms of banning it, I don't think...
Bernhard Langer on the Champions Tour, he fills it up.
Yeah, but he doesn't matter what he puts. So he can putt with anything.
There's just something that strikes me as wrong when I watch people do this, because then it's like... I don't know. I watch them and it's like, is that anchored? Are you sure that's not anchored?
That's the thing.
It's just like a weird discrepancy in the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who am I to try to get stuff banned? Just let people play golf how they want, Andrew. Come on. Okay. We can move along from Siwu. I wanted to get into a What's in the Bag of the Week real quick.
Oh, okay.
Just because I do love this. I love this bag setup. Let me just click on it real quick so I don't miss anything. I love this bag setup because it just says like how much he cares about playing exactly what he wants and what he needs. Like he's not tied into playing all new clubs or all old clubs. Like it's a nice mix of old and new.
Okay.
In my opinion. I'm going with Kevin Kisner for What's in the Bag of the Week. And I'm just going to do a quick little breakdown. He still has the old driver in the bag, the Great Big Bertha. He just can't get out of it. Like he'll be testing new product, have new product, and for a couple weeks here and there, always comes back to the Great Big Bertha.
Yep.
I hope he has a bunch of backups because it seems like he's never getting out of this thing. But he does have like the updated Tour Green, which I don't think ever even hit retail based on my research of it, but he's got a 65 TX in the Tour Green. Then for the fairway wood, for the 3-wood, he has an Epic Speed Triple Diamond. So a couple iterations ago with that one as well. Goes with the Ventus Blue 7X. Then, see, this is what I love about Kisner's bag. Then he goes with the Apex UW, which is like completely new. It's like a whole new different category, and he's got that in the bag. So he's got a 19-degree version of that, 85 TX Synergy green shaft in that one. That's Aldila.
Yeah.
Then he's got a pair of Apex UT driving irons. Shout out these because I still got one of these in the bag. I got an 18-degree. I love this club. He's got a Nippon Moto steel shaft in there. So that's like kind of one of those no-joke type setups. Like it's not graphite. Then he's got a set full of Apex Pro forged. These are pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when these came out. I didn't do my proper research on when these came out, but
end of 2013, I think.
Yeah, so we're coming up on almost a decade with those bad boys.
I've got a funny story about those irons too, but let's keep going through the bag.
Well, now I want to hear the funny story.
Well, no, let's go through the rest of the bag.
Funny story. Why don't you tell the funny story first?
So before I started working for Golf WRX, I got invited to go on a trip out to Callaway. This was end of 2012. This was like December of 2012. And it was right as the new regime, Harry Arnett, all those guys were coming in to work. And it was the launch of X-Hot, the original X-Hot was this basically. So we got there early, got to see it all before.
Great club.
Huge. And we had to tour of the facility. So we went in and they had in the prototype area, they had all these CNC milling machines working on different stuff. And another guy, Rob Miller, who used to work for Golf WRX, and I were standing there, and we walked.
Shout out Rob,
great dude. And we walk up to this table, and they're showing us we mill all these machines. They're explaining what they're doing, and we look down on the table, and there's a sheet that has that iron head specced out, and it's drawn in there. It's all kind of like a CAD drawing type thing. A sheet just sitting there, and it had the nickname Aspen. It was just said Aspen. We didn't know what it was, but they were milling the head in the machine, but with all the cooling liquid, you couldn't see anything, and they knew you couldn't see anything there, so they were showing it to us. So we both looked down and we looked at each other oh, what's this? And as we looked at each other, somebody from Cali walked over and flipped the piece of paper over, and they were like, "You were not supposed to see that." And walked out. And then a couple months later,
and then they hit you with an NDA.
Yeah, they hit us
Sure,
with the
would you
NBA
please sign
before we even did anything. But and then like what is it? Whenever Apex first came out, which was like later in 13, there was the Apex Pro, and it was the exact same thing we were looking at on that sheet. So I got to see it a few months before. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but I knew about it before it came out. But
that's great.
That's how I know exactly when those irons came out.
And he's still got them in the bag.
Yep.
Completing through, he's got SM8s 40, or he has an SM8 46. Then he goes with the new Callaway Jaws Raw 52. Then he's got a new Vokey, like the Bob Vokey prototype for 2022, which is very similar to the SM9. It's just slightly different option there. Raw head, and it's a T-grind, 60 T-grind. Just like a gamer setup through the bag. Oh, and then the putter, he's got the Odyssey 2-ball 11, like new Odyssey 2-ball 11 with the double bend neck. And I like his head cover, too.
Yeah, the head cover, that's sweet.
It's the Georgia Bulldog, like football helmet, college football helmet. And it has the bones.
Yep.
Like the white and black bones, which they give to players like for doing a good job, basically, and they put the stickers on their helmets, and his putter cover looks like a helmet with the bones all over it.
Yeah.
Very cool concept for the putter cover. So just all the way through, like, I like the clubs that he chooses, not necessarily because I want to play those clubs, but I just like that it's a good mix of, like, I mean, you got 2012, 13 all the way up to 2022. And, like, with the Apex UW in there, just, like, willing to try things and only putting them in the bag until he knows for a fact they work and are better and have a place. So I respect that bag setup. And Kevin Kisner, you get what's in the bag of the week.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so interesting about that drive.
We got to start handing out prizes for these things.
We should, yeah. We need like a little medal or something to give guys. Two things interesting. The driver, I think I asked like Johnny Wonder about it before, and I made just kind of like, "What's up, man? You guys can't get Kevin Kisner out of that head." And he goes, I don't quote me because it was a while ago, so I don't remember exactly, but I think he said that he hasn't gotten rid of that driver because I guess the way it was shaped and the way the MOI is, toe strikes on it are just crazy hot. Like, they're crazy hot. They don't draw a ton. Like, the way it is, and that is his miss. Like, his miss is on the toe, high toe, and that driver has been, I guess to him, better than anything else out there on that miss. Like, he said when he hits stuff...
I can confirm that because I have talked to Kisner about this and guys at Callaway about this, not just Wonder. Yeah, like, he feels that driver head. He just knows where it's going. Like, if he wants to hit it draw, he's going to hit the draw.
Yep.
Whereas with other clubs, like, in terms of doing what he wants it to do or what he thinks it should do, depending on where he hits it on the face, like, he's not getting that, at least for now, from the newer drivers.
Yep. Yeah. And then the interesting about the football helmet, do you know the difference between the white and black bones on a Georgia football helmet?
I could guess, but I'd rather you just give us the real.
So
no, what is it?
So the white bones are for achievements on the field during practice games, whatever achievements on the field, and the black bones are academic achievements for things done in the classroom and off the field. So that's what
he's got more white bones on there than black bones.
Yeah, I think a lot of the helmets.
So whatever that says.
I think it's a lot. I wouldn't say easier, but I think it's a lot more common to earn those bones than the black ones. But I did it. I think it was a couple years ago. I was just like, why do they have two different colors? And Googled it, and that's what it came up that they're academic and on-field achievements that they get to place those things on their helmets. So
love it.
Yeah, I mean. Did Kevin finish? He might have finished out all 4 years there. I was about to say, did he finish out 4 years? Did he leave early to go turn pro? I don't know, but either way, it's a cool.
I'm not going to call him out for going to classes or not going to classes.
No, not at all. Dude's playing on.
He's got a cool putter cover. Yeah. Let's leave it at that.
The guy's usually an awesome match play guy. He's playing in the President's Cup.
Yeah.
I think him missing a psychology 201 course is going to be okay. I think it's okay. I think he's doing all right.
I'm not sure he had the best week this week.
No, he did not. He did not.
Yeah, 0-2-1. He did get a half point, but he only played in 3 matches.
Yeah, he struggled, unfortunately. Cause I'm a big fan of his, and he I followed up with him on his scores, and I was a little disappointed because I figured he's kind of like that, don't want to say the Ian Poulter of America, but I mean he's definitely very good at those team things, and he's expressed how much he likes it. But yeah, he did not have his best week this week, unfortunately.
Okay, so Kisner won What's in the Bag of the Week. I just had a couple loose things on my list here I just wanted to mention before we get on out of here. We're already at an hour. It goes so quick.
I know.
Cam Davis has an absolutely sick custom Scotty Cameron putter. It's really shiny.
Yeah.
Did you look at this?
Yeah,
it's just a sick putter. I don't really have anything to say about it. So I know someone in the forums said they're like, if you get hit with glare off the top of this putter, you're blind for the next 3 holes, so you can't see putts whether they miss or go in or whatever he said. He said something along the lines of that. I got a kick out of that because definitely a very reflective, shiny putter, but it looks sick in the photos. That's Cam Davis. Yeah. I don't know if you had anything to say about that.
To me, like I'm fine with like, hey, if you want to high polish something, cool. I mean, whatever you want, like to look at. But it almost looks like it was like hand done. Like it doesn't look like Scotty polished that himself. Like it almost like Cam got the putted with him for a while, and then like, you know what, I kind of want this shinier, and like took a Brillo pad and like made it shiny or something, whatever he used. It just doesn't.
He might have done that because it does look like a really like old, kind of used custom Scotty. So maybe he just like got tired of how it looked and he wanted to change it all the way up. That is possible
because it just doesn't look as nice as you would expect like Scotty to do it for somebody. You know, like Scotty made that putter that way. Like you feel like it would be perfect, and this is just not that way. But it is a pretty cool putter, like the old Select.
Looks sick regardless to me.
Yeah, the old Select got the 3 dots in the back. It's interesting enough though. I mean, it's a tour putter, but it doesn't have a Circle T in any of the dots in the back. And most of those, like this model, those Selects, old Selects had like a Circle T in one of the cherry bombs in the back, and it doesn't. But still, I mean, it's a tour putter. It's got the Circle T on the front, and it's got the blank sole, so it's a Circle T.
Next time I see Cam Davis, I'm getting to the bottom. What's going on?
What's up with that?
And then I was just going. This is just the last note I'll make, and then we can get out of here. Greg was shooting a bunch of what's in the bags. He didn't get every single player on the team. It was a little bit tough because we didn't have like on the putting green access and on the range access, but he still managed to get a bunch of what's in the bags, and I was kind of just going through those, and I did notice at least four of the what's in the bags that he got, I think he got 12, had old drivers in it.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of new tech, I mean, all the new tech for the companies has been out now for plenty of time for guys to like work in, find the right shafts and setups, but still some of them are using older equipment. KH Lee has an Epic Max LS driver. Kisner obviously with the Great Big Bertha driver. Taylor Pendrith with a G410 LST, not that old, but still an older model. And then Corey Connors all the way back to the G4 Hundo.
Yeah.
Just something I noticed that I wanted to say. And I think we just touched on this last week, but if you go get fit and you go gamer, like your old gamer versus new tech, and you just can't find new technology that's better in terms of dispersion and distance, don't switch.
Yeah.
Stay with something you're comfortable with. I mean, that's what these tour guys do. And they have access to everything.
Yeah. If they walk into the truck and say, give me 3 drivers, they just get handed 3 drivers. Like it doesn't.
They're probably getting 5.
Yeah. But no, the 410 is sneaky in a few bags. So, I mean, like Jason Day has one in the bag. They're sneaky in there, and the 410, I feel like the 400 was an absolute monster at retail. I mean, it was like the best driver. Everybody loved it. 410 was kind of like, okay, it's good, and then 425 has been kind of a big one since. But you know, the 410 is sneaky good, and I don't remember exactly what the difference is. If it maybe spins a little less, a little more, does something different. But there's a few guys playing that driver, so you know, I mean, there must be something there in the launch and spin perspective that works for those guys. But the 400, I don't think anybody blames anybody for playing a G400. Those things are still sought after by tons of players. So, like you said, that is 100% it though, because I mean, I hit just about every new club that I can get my hands on, and people always ask like the Titleist thing, like I've got a TSI 3, should I switch to the TSR 3? I mean, sure, but I mean if you go get fit and there's not a big difference, like you don't have to move. Like, yes, the new one's not, looks great and all that, and it is really good. But like you said, like if you got fit into that TSI 3 and you go get fit in TSR 4 and there's not a huge difference or whatever, like, save the money and put it into some new wedges or something else that you might need, in the bag. But because on tour, if something works for these guys, they don't necessarily change it until they have to, whether a face cracks or whatever. They don't change it.
Well said. And yes, we know you do test every single new product that comes to the market. We can confirm. And you have a whole podcast called The Club Junkie about it.
That's
so
true.
If you're interested in Knudson's testing endeavors, he's got a great player's distance iron article out right now on golf2brx.com. He also has a podcast dedicated to club testing and talking about what's in his bag, what's coming up, what's new. If you're into all that, definitely head over to Club Junkie. That was a free advertisement right there. How about that?
Wow. That
As
plug,
for us, two guys talking golf on this show, that's going to be it for this week. I was down in Charlotte. I do recommend going to Charlotte if you've never been to Charlotte. Very clean, cool, fun city, condensed, like downtown's cool. It's got a bunch of good restaurants. The golf course is obviously awesome there. Quail Hollow is amazing. People are nice. Put Charlotte on your bucket list for, on your option list at least for like vacations within America. I just wanted to make that point about Charlotte. I think it's underrated. That being said, this was two guys talking golf, and these two guys are getting out of here. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Still go.